What's up, Miss Angela Calloway? Can you hear me, Angela? What's up, ALS 1976? Let me know if you can hear me. Let me see what's going on. Give me a second. I'm trying to get my chat board up. Give me 1 second. All right. Okay, so y'all say you hear me? How you doing? It's Glitch 479. Trying to make sure, trying to see why my screen here is not keeping up. Got a separate screen down here that I use for reading the chat, and then I look up for the screen here. Let's see if I can figure this out real quick. There we go. All right. All right. So, what's going on, everybody? What is Phoenix? G Mama Groves, what's going on? Thank you for coming in. I was trying to do this thing in a horizontal, but for some reason, when I clicked on the live, it went back to the vertical. So, y'all kind of got to excuse me on this one. We got 45 people in here already. It's a beautiful day down here in Georgia Zone 8A. My neighbor decides to bring the lawnmower out at the same time while I want to go live. But hey, that's part of going live, right? Hope Fantasy, aren't you loving this Georgia weather? Absolutely. It's not too hot, not too cold, but we are having those extremely cool mornings. So that's throwing the plants off right now, especially trying to get those warm weather crop in this time of the year because I really don't do I guess you might call it a spring garden. So I'm trying to get my warm weather crop going, and finally got the squash cage filled in. Boy, that was some work. I had a guy come out and dump some compost in my driveway, and then I wasn't thinking that I was blocking the car in, so now I had to go all the way around the house for each load of compost that I was trying to bring back. And I'm not even sure about the compost, so it may kill everything that I put in there because it was sitting in the driveway for almost 3 months and nothing really was growing out of it. So that's a telltale sign that it's probably still hot. Um, so what I did was it's a 17-inch garden bed that I put the compost in that I'm trying it out in first, and I filled the bottom half up with it, and then the top half I did with my compost. So I'm hoping that it's gonna work, but that's for the squash cage. Um, let's see who's in the chat down here. I'm gonna back up the chat a little bit. See G Mama in here. Gonna speak to G Mama. David H2359. What's going on? He says, "Good afternoon, sir. Hope you and your family are having a blessed day." Yes, we are, David. Thank you. G Mama, neighbors, tapping that like button. Yeah, that like button over to the side that make those hearts do that right there. You see the hearts popping up. Y'all hit that right there, or the 100, whichever one you choose. But what that does is it helps send the live out and get more people into it. Let's see here. Pixel Ranger, what's going on? Peeps, what's going on? I want to be crafty grandma. I'm sitting up under my my umbrella right now. It's very windy today, so this is the only shade in my garden because I don't really have any big trees. And looks like this wind wants to take my umbrella off. You can see the little shadow casted behind me, but it feels real good over here. The garden is shaping up pretty good. How about you guys? Who's doing the spring garden and who's doing, let's say, started on the summer garden already? Let's see by show of ones. Let's put a one up in the chat if you started your summer garden already. If you started planting your summer garden, and I know that's for like people like G Bomber. I know y'all are just coming out of that real cold, so not a whole lot there. Yeah, I see a lot of ones in there. A lot of ones. Yeah, I don't even try to do a spring garden because, like I said, it warms up so fast. We're 40s, low 40s at night, 75 during the day. But this coming week, we're gonna be 90 degrees here in Georgia. So we got stuff like snap peas. They're gonna be done. They're gonna cook. My broad beans, when they get up into that 75, 80, they're gonna pretty much be cooked. But I got my string beans coming up behind the broad beans, so we're not gonna fret on that. So basically, as you always hear me say, I do transitioning. Let's see. Hope family, aren't you loving the Georgia weather? Let's see. Michelle. Let's see here. Who else? Believe the outdoor channel. Believing the outdoor channel. I think that's always. I think that's all over this year. Yeah. Hope family says 8B Locust Grove. Okay, Hope family. So that makes us officially neighbors. I'm in Fayette County, which is right next to Locust Grove. I think that's Henry County. Is Locust Grove Henry County? Henry County, Fayette County. We're neighbors, officially neighbors. So let's see. Richard Rich. Very hot in Jacksonville, Florida. Very little breeze. That's Richard Rich says that. Let's see. Glitch 90s in Louisiana right now. That's Glitch 479. Jack Griffin 3891 says hi to everybody in the chat. Rice 80s in Colorado. Wow, 80s in Colorado. And I don't even think it's 80 here. So that's pretty good for Colorado. Um, let's see here. I'm gonna read some more of the chat down here. Cindy Smith, Jacksonville, Florida. What's going on? I'm gonna be in Florida this weekend. We're gonna be down in the Tampa St. Pete area. Um, had a family member pass, my brother-in-law, which my baby sis Tam, that you guys hear me chatting with a lot on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Her husband passed away, so we're going down to Tampa to pay our respects. So we'll be gone for the weekend, and that's why I wanted to do this pop up because I've been putting a lot of work into the garden these last few weeks, trying to get stuff done with the store. And Angela Calloway, what's up, Food by Faith? Angela Calloway, I think I sent you your tracking number for your Santa Rosa. That's right, you ordered the Santa Rosa, and if I hadn't sent it, expect that tracking number to be coming because we've been doing a lot of packing up this week and getting these orders out. So between getting the orders out, trying to get the garden ready, moving seeds around, taking transplants, moving them from one place to the other, it's been very busy. And I mean, I'm not complaining. Definitely not complaining. Let's see here. Hello, sausage. I love your videos. I'm gonna try 2 different blueberries next year. Um, the best time to plant those blueberries is going to be in the fall. So if you get you some blueberries, which you can get them from growingoutthebox.com, because we do have blueberries on our. Oh yeah, speaking of blueberries, we're going to be adding grapes to growingoutthebox.com. We're going to be adding strawberry plugs to growingoutthebox.com. A few more fruit trees. We still haven't put all our citrus up, but I mean, it's going really well. And I got to thank you guys really for making this all possible, because none of this is possible without you. While, there's nothing wrong with the affiliate marketing, I went out on a limb and tried to put this thing together from an e-commerce standpoint. And you guys have really showed up and supported. So again, I say, what's up, So Good Gardener? What's going on, my brother? Thank you for coming in. Just doing a little pop-up. Going to be down in Douglasville, Georgia today. And we're going to be doing Master Gardeners meeting. I'm going to be talking about companion planting with your blueberry bushes. I mean, it's only so much you can talk about with companion planting. So we're going to be doing a little discussion on blueberry bushes, the things that go well with the blueberry bushes, why they don't grow well, the new environments and ways to grow in pots, because I think I have 13 blueberries in pots this year that came from my cuttings, as well as some that I've purchased from other places. And I want to show you guys that it's just as well possible to grow in pots as it is to grow in those 48-inch planters that I have. And we already know my big trees are 4.5 years old, already at their maximum potential. All right, backyard. Let's see. We got a super chat here. I'm gonna miss that. I am so far down in the chat. Sorry. Okay. Backyard Homestead 27. Thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Um, like I said, it's this whole growing out the box thing has really turned into something that you kind of plan for it. You hope it'll happen. Then when it starts happening, you really feel blessed on how things come to us. I'm really thinking that this thing is going to take off. And I had my Chase Lounge on this side of the garden a couple of years back, and we had this crazy windstorm came through, and it literally took my Chase Lounge 5 houses down, which ripped the top on it. And we haven't really been using that Chase Lounge for the past few years, but I came up with something. We're going to be growing grapevines over our Chase Lounge. I think it's going to be pretty cool. I have an Everest grapevine that I planted over in the back of it. And, it's coming out pretty nice. I like that. Food by Faith. What's going on, my sister? It's windy here. I'm going to plant some today and see what it does. Yeah, rice, was it 16,532? Growing out the box. How do you deal with the high winds? Uh, Normally, I would take the umbrella down with the wind blowing like it is today, because it really is blowing. And I got the nerve to sit my camera up on up on the table where the umbrella is attached to, and I'm hoping that's not a bad idea, because I have my cell phone up top and my iPad on the bottom that I read from. So hopefully it doesn't get too far out of hand. I was hoping that we would have a little shadow cast out here, but it's pretty hot out here, and I know as soon as I take this phone out into that heat, it's going to heat up. So we're just going to kind of keep it moving right here. Let's see. Do the math. What's going on, my brother? Good looking on the fulvic acid gang. What's up? Do the math. Thank you. I'm going to be showing you guys how to make that fulvic acid. And you've heard me talk about the black gold. What is it? Peat moss. Not the what is the other peat moss that Home Depot and Lowe's have? Majestic. Home Depot, Lowe's has the majestic peat moss. That's considered a blonde peat moss, and this is one of the things that we're going to be talking about in the Master Gardener meeting tonight. Is the difference between the peat mosses that's out there, because not all peat moss is the same. You have what they call a Von Post scale that they use for the peat moss, and that's the scientists that came up with that scale. And the peat moss is rated from a blonde or a white, which is what the majestic is that you'll see in most of the Home Depots, Lowe's, and things like that. And then Tractor Supply is the only place that I've been able to find that black gold. The black gold is the older, the thousands of year old, thousands of year old peat moss. That's what the black gold is. And on the bond post scale, they rate that as an H6 to an 8H, whereas the majestic is like a H1 to an H3. And the H1 to an H3, that just means humification. Humification 1 through 3, which means that it's probably 10 to 30 years old. That's what the majestic is. So they harvest it from the top of the bogs, whereas the black gold is a lot older. And I know there's going to be some controversy with the whole, harvesting the peat moss. But the black gold is a lot older. So we're talking thousands of years old. If you're going to be doing the fulvic acid, and this is directed to do the math, if you're going to be doing the fulvic acid, the black gold is what you really want, because the black gold has that both humic and fulvic compounds in it that will do very well when you're trying to separate the humic from the fulvic. And the fulvic is going to float, the humic is going to settle to the bottom of your container. But I'm going to be showing you guys how to do that. Once you learn how to do that fulvic acid extract, it's going to change the game on how you get nutrients to your plants, because you can spray that on your plants. And I use a mister. If you ever see me with the bottle that I spray on my blueberry bushes, it's a mist that you want to do it, not necessarily a watering, but it's a mist that you do it. You can take your FPJs, which I do, like my henbits, my alfalfa, my Mexican sunflower, the peanuts. I mean, anything that you do with your FPJ, you can take this fulvic acid, maybe a tablespoon of each, and it causes the stomatas on the plants to uptake the nutrients to its maximum capacity. And I mean, it just changes the whole premise on how your plants look. You'll see them green up within 2 days after spraying that fulvic acid on it, along with any of the other nutrients. You could just spray the fulvic acid on it, for that matter, and the plants will stand up the next day. Because what it does is, it on a molecular structure, on a molecular level, it allows nutrients to go up into the stomata of the plant. Um, it just, I mean, it really is amazing. I can't tell you how. And what it does is, it increases your bricks in your plants. And when, of course, your plants, the bricks in your plants are increased, that means more sugar. More sugar and carbohydrates means less insect pressure. And one of the things that I'm testing on this season is allowing some of my brassicas to go to seed. And of course, the aphids love it when they go to seed. And thus far this season, no aphids, but it's still early. So we're running a test on this thing. Melinda, what is this? Melinda, what's going on, Miss Melinda? Thank you for the super chat. I really do appreciate it. Really do appreciate it. Can you highlight Melinda, G Mama? I know you be quick on the trigger down there. G Mama is one of the best moderators. No, I'm going to say G Mama and Mike's Chaotic Gardening got to be two of the best moderators on this thing. They be all on it. So G Mama pops in whenever we need her. She sees when I go up, and I just really appreciate her, Mike's Chaotic Gardening, and everybody else who's one of my moderators. I mean, y'all make this thing so much easier. Thank you, Melinda. I really appreciate that super chat. And what I do is, with these super chats, this is how I'm able to gift a lot of things. You know what I mean? A lot of channels come on, and the first thing they want to do is charge you for what do you call the? I don't even know right off the hand what you call it. The memberships. They want to charge you for memberships. I'm never going to charge for memberships. Let me tell you that off the bat. And at 1.3 million followers across all platforms, 500,000 on Facebook, 420,000 on IG, and I think we're going to hit 260,000 probably today here on YouTube. I'm not going to charge you guys a membership fee to do what it is I do anyway. That's just not what I'm going to do. What I do appreciate is that for what we offer each other, and there is that symbiotic relationship that I like to talk about, is you guys go to my shop and you spend your money with me that way. That way you get something out of it and I get something out of it. I don't, like I said, it's a blessing that you guys want to share, your funds with me, but I'd rather for you to go to the store and purchase something, that you can have, and we could talk about that. And that's really what this whole thing is all about. It's about me sharing with you what I do in my garden. And if you can benefit from that, that's a blessing for me and for you. If you want to go over to my shop, we have blueberry bushes over there. We have citrus trees over there, plum trees, apricots. So we have apricots, peaches, cherry trees. I mean, we have pretty much everything that you could think of. And it's the host of all of our partners that are coming together to support the channel that makes all of these things available. So I can't say that I'm growing all of these things, but just like Walmart, that's what I want growing out the box to be potentially one day, to where it's a one-stop shop for everything that you want to get for your garden needs. And as much of this as I can share back, like with the Master Gardener meeting tonight, and I probably shouldn't be saying this, but I'm going to be giving away 2 blueberry bushes, a couple of growing out the box hats, our breast cancer. We got 2 signature breast cancer awareness hats. One's pink with white letters, and the other one's white with pink letters. We're going to be gifting some of those tonight. I may gift a bag of compost, as well as some of the black gold. I do have an extra thing of black gold, but I'm kind of stingy with the black gold. Let me get down here to the chat and read some of this, but let's see here. G Mama says only you can highlight or pin. Okay, she said G Mama says only I can highlight or pin. Y'all know I ain't finna start pushing buttons because I'll be done clocked out of this live. Food by Face said, hey, Melinda. And then Nikki Walker. What's up, Nikki Walker? I didn't see you come in. Thank you for coming in. Belle of the Ball, Florida. Congratulations on your milestone. Yeah, this is y'all's milestone, you know what I mean? Because none of this is possible without y'all. And you're going to hear me probably say that on every live that I ever do. This is just not possible without you guys, because if you're not watching my videos, if you're not engaging, and I know that I have not been as active on the channel as I normally have, because I got 4 different platforms that I try to bounce around to, and as well as the store. And when you get the emails that comes from growingoutthebox.com, that comes directly from me. So I've kind of diverted some of my attention from the social media platforms and going straight over to growingoutthebox.com. And that's part of what I want to do. And if you're on growingoutthebox.com, and if you're subscribe to growingoutthebox.com, you'll get the first notification when the 3 zippers arrive. Y'all know what this shipping thing has been going crazy. They've been slightly delayed. I was hoping that they would be here by the 1st of spring, but some of my blueberries are already starting to turn. So I know you guys are really stressed out about getting these nettings in. The 3 zippers are a little larger than the ones that I have. I want to say they're 84 by 96. So they'll go over the tallest of your rabbit eyes, because the rabbit eyes, I had a couple of people saying that my other nettings were a little small. Well, we got two sets of netting on here now. We have the 6 foot netting, and then we have the 8 foot netting, and then the 3 zippers are actually a 9 foot netting. So they'll go over the largest trees that are going to be producing the most. And what we're going to do is we're going to scale it back, and we're going to go with the 3 zippers for all 3 sizes. But that's going to be going into next year. Now we have some other things that we're doing also. I got these little teepee tents, and we got netting for the teepee tents, as well as hexagon type raised bed that's going to go with the teepee tents. So we're building our inventory as well as partnering with different vendors to build the brand, growingoutthebox.com. And again, none of this is possible without you guys, so I really do appreciate that. What's going on, Garden Essentials? Thank you for coming in. I see Shawnee in there. Shawnee 2003. What's up, Shawnee? Thanks for coming in. Let's see if I can get down to the bottom here. Y'all, if y'all got any questions, you might want to ask them again, because I'm looking up at this screen, but I'm reading the screen down here on the bottom. So when I get to talk, yeah, there we go. So I'm going all the way down to the bottom, and that's tried and true. Growing out the box. Question, please. Do you mix pine bark nuggets into your soil, or do you just do it on the top of the mulch? With the pine, that's I'm gonna read that again. That's tried and true. As if I mix pine bark mulch into my soil. If you're talking about the blueberries, I only do the nuggets, not the mulch. The mulch is too large, but what the mulch would do is, if you're looking at the pine bark mulch, you can take a lawnmower, run it over, because you want those nuggets. You want it to be maybe a ½ inch to an inch in size, and that way the microbes can have more surface area. And more surface area, they'll break down a little faster, and they don't create the large pockets in the soil that the large pine bark mulch would do. And when you put the large pine bark mulch in there, it's going to create the bacteria in your soil. Is going to try to break that down a little faster, and then what it's going to do is going to tie up your nitrogen. But the best part about the pine bark mini nuggets is what I use, and I do mix that into my blueberry mix. It is mixed in thoroughly. But what I do is I also mix in a 1/4 cup of that cottonseed meal. And what the 1/4 cup of cottonseed meal does is it supplements some of the nitrogen that the bacteria are going to need to break down that lignins in the pine bark mini nuggets. So you kind of offset what you're doing in your mix. Um, I wouldn't do that in a regular garden bed. Now, I did do it with my alfalfa. I mixed in regular wood chips with my alfalfa, but in a regular garden bed, I would not advise to mix in any pine bark nuggets into the mix. And basically what it is, it's like a battery charger, so to speak. Just think of the blueberry mix like a battery. And twice a year, I charge that battery. And what do I mean by charging the battery? I take a gallon of each, a gallon of the, or 2 gallons of the peat moss, a gallon of the mini pine bark nuggets, a gallon of my compost, and then I add a 1/4 cup of that cottonseed back into it. I scrape the mulch off from the top layer, get down to where you'll see your surface roots of your blueberry bush. Because if you have a blueberry bush, you're gonna know those roots are on the surface. And then I sprinkle that around the drip line, which is going to be the far edge of where your leaves come down on your blueberry bush. That's going to be your drip line. And then what I do is I water that in with some distilled water, or you can use vitamin C, ascorbic acid. Now, I would advise anybody who's growing blueberry bushes to invest in just a little bottle. I think it's a 12 ounce or 8 ounce bottle of ascorbic acid. You could take a pinch, literally a pinch of ascorbic acid, drop it into a 5 gallon bucket, and it will drop the pH of that water. It will not only drop the pH, it will remove the chlorine. And here is the thing that a lot of people won't tell you, or a lot of people really don't even address: chloramine. Chloramine in your tap water. Your water has chloramine in it. Now, for those of us who are trying to grow naturally, chlorine and chloramine sets us back every time we do that. And what I mean by set us back, we we literally go in and disinfect our garden every time we water with our water hose. That's what the chlorine and chloramine does. So what I have over here is a 55 gallon. Let's see, I turn that around. You see, it's a 55 gallon drum over there. And that's generally what I feed my blueberry bushes with. All the other plants in the garden, I kind of have to get away, with using the tap water, but I'm a little particular about how I feed my blueberry bushes. So that particular 55 gallon water container there, I drop the ascorbic acid in it, and then I can use that. And that ascorbic acid is so strong to where you can take a cup of that water out of there with that ascorbic acid in, and you could dump it into another canister, and it will automatically break the bond of that chloramine and chlorine. This thing is going to take off, but it would break the bond of the chlorine, the chloramine. My correction. It'll break the bond of chlorine and the chloramine. That doesn't happen when you allow it to off gas. I hear a lot of people say, you could just sit your water out for a day and it'll off gas, and then you can go ahead and use it in your garden for your compost. And well, that's true that the chlorine does off gas, but the chloramine does not. The chloramine has a bond in it, and it's ammonia and ammonia and nitrates, I believe it is. But that bond stays with that ammonia and chlorine. That's what it is. It's a bond of ammonia and chlorine, and that will not go away simply by allowing it to off gas. You have to actually break the bond. And when I say breaking the bond, that is what that ascorbic acid does. It breaks the bond of the chlorine and that chloramine and turns it into a useful um, additive that goes into your soil. Plus, it breaks, like I said, it takes your pH down, and it's conducive to what we try to do as natural gardeners or organic gardeners, however you want to call it, especially with the beans and the peas that I use, because I'm a big fan of using the bacteria to fix the nodules on the roots. And every time you use that tap water on those beans, you reset that population. Now they'll rebound because there are billions of bacteria in the soil. There are billions of bacteria in the soil. They'll rebound, but we're resetting them every time we water. So I try to get away from that. And my goal going into probably towards the end of this year is going to be to a whole watering system out here, because it's getting too much for me to have to water this by myself. Sometimes it takes me 3 hours just to water. Let's see. Do you have a pH? Do you have to pH the water? Seeing Free Thinker asks, do you have to pH the water? Ask me that question in a different way, because I'm really not understanding what do you mean. Do you have to pH the water? Because pH just means portions of hydrogen ions. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the question is. So if you can rephrase the question, that'll be great. Um, if you mean test the pH of the water, I, I I normally walk around with my pH meter in the garden all the time because I'm constantly testing the pH in the water. But when you put that ascorbic acid into your water, it'll drop that pH down to probably about a 5.5 to a 6.2, which is a sweet spot for every plant in the garden, if that's what you were asking. So yes, I do test the pH of my water, and when you put that ascorbic acid in, it'll drop that pH down, depending on your tap water. The temperature, all of those things make a difference in what your pH is going to be. So there's no definitive pH that you're going to get. Everything factors in when you think about your temperature, uh, your tap water itself, whether you have chlorine, chloramine. Just depends on how much your municipality puts into your water. Let's see. Do you know anything about jade plants or succulents? Nah. What is it? A house plant? Succulents? I'm pretty much out here in the garden. If it's not something that we grow out in the garden, I don't do a lot of growing inside. Now, the person that you may want to talk to will be G Mama. G Mama does a lot of gardening inside. She has house plants as well as grow inside. So she may be able to answer that, and she's in the chat right now. G Mama Grows. Um, if you can answer, let's see who asked that question. Dave Busby, what's going on, my brother? Let's see. Shannon O'Kelly says, yes, watering is time consuming. Watering is definitely time consuming. This it really is therapy for me because I really like to hand water. It's just I don't have enough time in the day. And what I'll end up doing is spending half of my morning when the sun is down out here trying to water before the sun gets up, and then it's too hot. Then I can't do the things that I come out here to do. So right now watering is counterproductive. But for me personally, I love hand watering my garden. It gives you an opportunity to really see what's going on with the plants, a real close up of it. By hand watering, I get a chance to monitor even the slightest little hint of, like on a tomato, if you got a slight blight coming in, or even some spots on your tomato plants. Same thing with the insect infestations. When you hand water and you really take the time to kind of minutely go through your garden and monitor it like that, it's really hard for things to get out of control. And that's something that I kind of just have leaned on, especially this time of year going into the summer. I like growing brassicas. And of course, is a delicacy for insects going into the summer. But what the brassicas do basically is keep me attuned to what's going on in the garden, because if my brassicas are not being attacked on these warm summer days, then I know that the garden is in good health in terms of insect pressure. When my brassicas start getting hit, that's when I start paying attention. I know I got to go back to that fulvic acid, start giving the plants a little bit more to boost their immune system, and that generally helps me out in just keeping a really good watch on my blueberries. The same way, anthracnose, septoria, powdery mildew, downy mildew, those things on the blueberry bushes. So by me hand watering, and I water with a wand in my canister, it allows me to spot even the smallest little things that are going on with my blueberry bush. And I use my liquid whey, which is the liquid from the spoiled milk, and I do that like a 50-50 regimen with distilled water, and I spray that on there. No powdery mildew. I haven't had powdery mildew in my garden. Oh man, in the last couple of years, because I use that liquid whey. And I alternate between the liquid whey and the FPJs with the fulvic acid, just constantly alternating, seeing which plants respond best to it. And once you figure out which plants respond best to it, you have an automatic go-to right off the bat. You know what to put on that particular plant. And that's why I like keeping all my FPJs separate. I'll have a henbit, I'll have a dandelion, I'll have a alfalfa, I have a Mexican sunflower, I'll have what else out here? The as the broad beans start going out, I'll take the tips of that and make a FPJ out of that. That's good nitrogen as well as other carbohydrates. I'm gonna just take you out a little bit. Like I say, I know that sun's gonna blind me a little bit, but I'm gonna let you see what's going on in the garden already. Let's see here. I was hoping this thing was gonna go vertical. I mean horizontal, because then you guys could see more what's going on. So I'm finna set this up in selfie mode so I can walk around. And like I said, I haven't put any of my squash out yet. Squash, tomatoes, uh, what else have I not put out? I mean, it's just been super busy, but I'm gonna let you guys see what the garden's looking like. Now, this is the first, and I've been trying not to show a whole lot, and we've gotten a couple of little good warm days, but it's really starting to come together. I got to get out here and cut these. Uh, this is where we make our pestos, and this is some of my elephant garlic. This is here. That's my rosemary. So I'm trying to, because I know as soon as I get out here, and the garden's looking. I'm really happy with the way things are going. That's some yellow raspberries there, or golden raspberries. Uh, we got beans coming up here. These are jade. Yeah, these are jade beans here. We got our eggplants here. Got some African. Uh, got some peppers here. I mean, it's just I've been busy. That's all I can say. And this is my brassicas here. You can see this thing is going wild. Everything's going to seed. And these are old timey blue collards here. This is one of my favorite uh, greens right here. My Heshiko onions. These are bee magnets right here. Heshiko onions. And you can see the bees flying around here now. This is why I let those Heshiko onions. But this is the garden where it's starting to wake up. And again, I haven't even put my summer crops out yet. But it's just waking up on its own. Most of this stuff is self-seeded. I can walk around to different garden beds and I can show you plants that are just coming up on their own. I don't plant them, I just let them self-seed. Here's um, some dark opal basil up under here. That's some regular basil, but that's dark opal basil. You see the little specks in it. Smells amazing. There's some more dark opal basil there. Some collards right here. Some cabbage going to seed. I let everything go to seed. I don't pull out a whole lot of stuff. Got some uh, vapes kale here. These are all my indicators for what's going on with the garden. When these start getting attacked, I know I need to start paying attention. You see how crunchy those are? That's vapes. Got some slug damage on this. That's what those are there. That's slug damage. So we need to put our slug traps over here in this area here. But other than that, this bed is doing amazing. Again, that's our Heshiko onions right here. Love letting my Heshiko onions go to seed. These are burgundy uh, raspberries here. And like I said, I let everything transition. So these are my broad beans. When they get 75 to 80 degrees, they're going to start giving out. But you see what's coming up there? Those are my blue lake beans coming up. So the garden never stops. We always got something growing. The blue lake, all between the broad beans. Go over here, we got some white egg plants here. Got some flowers on already. Flowers on, those are white egg plants here. Got some yarrow. I love my yarrow. Got the white and the burgundy. This is some mustards here that are going to seed. I love taking the mustard seeds and making those into powders. That mustard seed is really good fertilizer. Over here, like I said, a lot of this stuff comes up on its own. You see, like right here, all these peppers. I didn't plant any of those. They came up on their own. And what I'll do is I'll move them. And when I move them, I put a little fertilizer around them. And then they'll start to take off on their own. Another dark opal basil. Beautiful. All of this, and you see right here, a whole group of peppers right there. I'll take those out. Let that stay. Got some bok choy up front. Look at this baby's here. Look how small she is. Now, a lot of people say you shouldn't let your plants flower when they're this small. Man, when these plants want to do what they're going to do, you just let them do what they do. That's acorn squash there. Got some nasturtiums trying to come up here. And I let the nasturtiums crawl and let them be an undercarriage in there. You see that little baby there? Got a bell pepper coming up on it. So we kicking already, man. The summer is already here for us. Look at that. You see what I'm talking about? Look at that baby there. That's why I let my onions go to seed. They bring these huge bumblebees in. You see that? That's what they do. As they start to pop, those bumblebees will come in. Once again, more seeds. These are Goliath broccoli seeds here. So as soon as these go to seed, as soon as they dry out, we're going to take those out. And then what'll happen is the eggplant will take off. Once it gets that shadow off of them, the eggplant will take off. Got another dark opal basil centers here. That's for pest pressure. Got a purple Ichiban eggplant there. And over here, we actually have some Black Beauty eggplants already coming on. Let's see which one of these things. There she go. Get it. Already got eggplants this early in the season. Can you see it right there? Eggplants already this early in the season. Peppers already falling off. These are cayennes here. African marigolds. Let's see what else we have here. These are marglobes, marglobe tomatoes, and these are determinants. I love growing determinants because by the middle of the summer, all of these things that start go out on you. So I don't even grow those really big beefsteak tomatoes. I love growing my determinants. Here's another one. Marglobe, Marglobe, Marglobe. Love those tomatoes. And they'll put on, it'll probably get about 5 feet tall and it'll put on a flush. And I have them in successions. Can't come out to the garden and not rub the Buddha. We got some echinacea right here. Beautiful echinacea. It's time to start harvesting these. The echinacea, you want to make sure that they're at least 2 years old before you start harvesting. Right here, I'm letting these get out of control. I need to come out and harvest these. These are pyrethrum daisies. Pyrethrum daisies, not pyrethroids, pyrethrum. And that's what I use for those leaf-footed nymphs. If you gotta want to have an issue with the leaf-footed nymphs, you mix you some tea with these pyrethrum daisies. They'll knock those leaf-footed nymphs down. Got some seeds drying out here. Some more of our brassicas, so it's time to start taking this one out. I'll take that out. Some beautiful echinacea starting to flower. Some more of our peppers over here. These are bananas here. Look how beautiful that is. Actually, these are Hungarian wax. Let's see what these is. This one's getting shaded, so we're gonna have to knock back some of our yarrow here to let this one breathe a little bit. She's not getting any sunlight, but we'll make a FPJ with our yarrow and we'll just store that to the side. Over here, this is how I like to do all my nasturtiums. Let them be an undercarriage in all the beds. So if we have an insect festation, they're gonna go to the nasturtiums first. And then that way you can deal with that before it gets to your plants. Look how beautiful that tomato plant is coming up. Now again, you see all of these little pop-ups right here? All of these are volunteers. None of this stuff was planted over here. All of these are volunteers. That's going to be the strongest thing in your garden, your volunteers. All of these are volunteers. So I'm going to be taking these out. And most of the time I gift them. I give them away. These are, I think those are pear tomatoes, the yellow pears, the little small ones. That's what this is, a yellow pear. And that's what I grew in this bed last year. Look at that beautiful lemon thyme. I use that as ground cover, mulch as well, lemon thyme, some Greek oregano, and some stevia. I have some more of that that's going to fill that out. This is something unique that I'm doing with some of my pots now. Instead of going out and buying bricks to sit them on, I'm just making these little planter holes, putting some rocks in it. Looks pretty cool. See, back up off of it. Yep. So tomatillos, for those who kept telling me it wasn't tomatillos, there's tomatillos. Got to have two of these. They need to cross-pollinate in order for you to make some tomatillos. Again, some more tomatoes. All volunteers down there popping in. There, the little baby here. Let me show you how small she is and got peppers on her already. Yep. Nice and healthy. Same thing here. So I think that's a poblano. I don't even have them labeled because what they do is they come up and then I'll just take them to different parts of the garden. This is dwarf Orinoco banana there. I think I'm going to put her in the ground this year because she should fruit. She's been going for about 19 months, but I think because she's in that pot, she's not going to do much. Look at the blackberries. Blackberries are going crazy. It's going to be blackberries galore. And I like them running up you see, I have a stake, 6-foot stake going up to keep them like an umbrella. Some more peppers over here. These are, I think that's a golden bell here. I'm not sure what this one is. That's another volunteer. That's my black cherry tomato coming up there. Some more nasturtiums. Another pepper there. Down here we got peanuts coming up on their own. I didn't plant any of those. This bed is dedicated to peanuts. And this is what I've been working on, people. This is the squash cage. Let me back up off of this and then come up on it. This is the squash cage. See that? So we're not dealing with that vine borer this year. This was some work. Again, I had to take all of this soil. Now the topsoil is my compost mixed in with some, what do we have in there? Some cocoa coir. The top is my compost and cocoa coir. But that's what we have here. Got a little wraparound custom bed that I made just for this enclosure. I built this entire little thing here, custom built from some little panels that I got from Lowe's. The corners, cut those, made those. I gotta get the my little edgings to go on there. But This is the squash cage, and you can see my fresh compost right there where I just finished doing that this morning. I got to come out here and blow off some of the sand off the rocks. But I'm loving this. Just kind of go up here, let it down, zip it, and you can zip the whole thing. But that is, look at my little buddy up top, keeping an eye on everything. That's our little owl there. I love that thing. I need to get me another one. I think I'm gonna have in this bed right here some, I'm probably gonna have to pull it away from my electric fence here. But I think I wanna put my, what I wanna put there? Okra. I think I wanna put 2 okra plants in here and then along with some radish to grow around the bottom. Now, here, I'm gonna show you here. Can you grow blueberries in pots with that mix? There's your answer right here. These are 2.5-year-old blueberry cuttings for the most part. That's what this is. You see my little low cinder block mesh that I use to create, because if the birds get out of hand, I could throw me a netting across this and I don't have to worry about the birds getting to the blueberries. But these are my sweethearts. You can't see the berries very well because they're blending in. But these are 2-year-old cuttings, already about 36 inches tall. So if your blueberries are not growing, it's because you ain't got them in that growing out the box mix. Every last one of them. All of these you guys saw me plant and do the cuttings from here. They're just starting to get some color in them. These are sweethearts. All of these are sweethearts. All 4 of these are sweethearts. This is a sweetheart that was grown from seed. Um, I got 3 berries on this one here. Well, a handful of berries. It's grown from seed 3 years ago. So that's what you're going to have to deal with. 1, 2, 3, 4 that were grown from seed. And this is the only one that has fruit on it. These are 3 years old. These are 2.5 years old, and they're full of berries. So that's what you're going to deal with. 3 years with grown from seed and just a handful of berries just starting to mature. Cutting's going to give you berries the very next year. This one here was the one that we docked on last year. Look how dark those leaves are. That's an O'Neill. That's the one that we repotted last year. This is one we got from Hall's Nursery. This is a Georgia Gem. This was sold to me as a Georgia Gem, but it's obviously a rabbit eye. I'm not sure what it is. I think it's more of a premier. You can see the rabbit eye. You see one of the telltale signs of the rabbit eye, they're going to turn pink, like the rabbit's eye. That's one of the reasons why they call them rabbit eyes. You're going to see these don't do that. They don't turn that pink. But I'm thinking that this is a premier. Yeah. And they're going to turn pink before they turn to that blue. This is the mother plant for those 4 right there. This is where I got the seeds from. And this is a Chandler. She's full of berries. Full of berries. So, and what I do is with my blueberries, I take all of this out, the top mulch, and then I'll put my fresh mix back in, and then I'll put that mulch back. And that's all I do twice a year on all of my planters, the same way that I do with my large ones. This is a legacy. She is loaded down. Again, you could do this in pots. Look at all the berries on there. That's a legacy. Growing in pots. Growing in pots. This is Brightwell. If you have rabbit eyes, you want a Brightwell. Look at all the berries on there. She's going to turn pink just like the other one. I think the other one is a Premier, but that's the Brightwell. And this is the little mama. I call her little mama because she gets wide. This is a sharp blue. Sharp blue's not going to get as tall as your normal southern high bush. She gets wide. She gets about 4 feet wide and 4 feet tall. So she's a little more compact. But look at the size of her berries. She ain't playing. Little mama putting it on. I love it. Yeah. So that's why I put the yeah, she has some very nice sized berries on her. That's why I put Mr. Owl right there, because I want to see how effective it is in keeping those birds away. And this is Lover's Lane here is what I call it. And I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if you can see the heart. But this is a heart shape. It's a little rock bed that I made that's a heart shape. See that? My wife bought home this little statue a couple of years ago of the man and the woman. And I wanted to just kind of dedicate a little space in the garden just for her. She likes bringing the flowers in. So all the flowers that you see out here, she brought them in. I don't grow flowers. So that's what the Lovers is. That's Lovers Lane there. And then when you get to Lovers Lane, you get to the Chase Lounge. Can't have a Lovers Lane without somewhere to lay. And that's what the Chase Lounge is. So we got our little candles on the Chase Lounge. Lights up at night. If you ever been to my Lights Out Live, don't ask me what the flowers are. I don't grow flowers. My wife bought these, brought them home. They look good, and this is what she bought them for, to go right there on the Chase Lounge. It's Lover's Lane is what I call this. Everything over here belongs to my wife. I don't I don't eat blackberries. All of the blackberries belong to her. So I grow them just for her. That's what Lover's Lane is about. And you see how that is? So if you're growing blackberries, this is what you're going to expect. This is 3 plants that's taking up a 12-foot bed. So I see some people planting their blackberries and they got them in little small spaces. This is what you're going to have in a couple of years. And these are, I want to say 3 years old. But that's how they grow in my garden. I don't know how they grow in nobody else's garden, but that's how they grow in my garden. Go around here. Let's see here. And I'm gonna come back down to the chat in a minute. I just wanted to show you guys what we're doing out here. Some more of our vapes kale. And again, these are indicators here. When these start getting attacked by insects, we know it's time to break that fulvic acid out. That means that we need to build the sugars up in the plants. Um, this is what do you call this? A water. You can see it sitting in water here. But I use this to make FPJs. Now I'm getting a brain fart because I need to tell you what that is. Um, Somebody in the chat gonna tell me in a minute. But I use this to create FPJs as well. And what this is good at with silica. If you want to build up your plants like where I'm having the insects over there biting on my the flea beetles biting on your plants, I make an FPJ with that, and you can take that silica. This has about 20% silica in it. I have this one and also uh, horsetail. That's what it is. This is horsetail. This is water horsetail. I also have the field horsetail, and the field horsetail. I mix those two together, make an FPJ with it, and I take the silica from it, and that's what I spray on my other plants to get them to build up the hardiness. Same thing over here. You want to have issues with insects biting on your grapevines, you spray that horsetail on it. After FPJ with the horsetail, and what it does is it builds up the cuticles on this, and that silica creates a coating on there that keeps the insects from wanting to chew on it. So this is going to be my leader that's going to be growing up 7 feet tall. I'm gonna back up and let you see my whole grapevine trellis system here. This has been just finished this year. So I've been real busy. I've been real busy. All of this stuff was done this year. This was finished up just a couple of weeks. I mean, I just finished putting the soil in here today. That's why I went live. I just finished putting the soil in it today. This I just finished up maybe a week ago or 2 weeks ago, putting the cattle panel. Remember I was telling you about the wind took the Chase Lounge down to my neighbor's yard? Well, I put a cattle panel on here, and now we're going to be growing grapes up it. Remember, this is Lover's Lane over here. Can't have Lover's Lane without grapes, right? So this is where the grapes are. Got some grapes coming up here, and this is an Everest, and it's going to go up, and we'll have two cordons going up here on our grapes. This one's a Blue Mars. That's a beautiful grape, disease resistant. The Everest is very disease resistant. Powdery mildew, dowdy mildew. These are why I'm growing these. Got the African marigolds next to it. This is, I can't even remember the name of this one, but I think this will be my leader over here. And then I'll start propagating all of these so I can make some other plants, take them to other parts of the garden. Right here, this is some dinosaur kale that's going to seed. So as soon as they start to dry out, we'll take those out. And then we got our babies down here. This is our Bocking 14 comfrey. This is what we make our FPJs with also. This is some of our comfrey. Look how dark and rich those leaves are. Also got our dandelions down here. Dandelions are really good in silica as well. And we use FPJs for that. And some carrots mixed in, anything to break the soil up. Because we're in that Georgia clay down here, so I use the carrots to help break that soil up, as well as the daikon radish. Some more of our Bocking 14 comfrey. This bed here is pretty much going to be dominated by comfrey. I'm going to let the comfrey have it. And here's my babies right here. Beautiful, beautiful. And this is alfalfa. She's got a first. Now, the beautiful thing about alfalfa, they have this little, if I were to take a paper clip, I can stick it in the center of the flower and it'll literally snap. And that's what causes it to pollinate. The alfalfa is very unique in the way that it pollinates itself. It does not want it has its pistil and the stamen, but it wants pollen from another plant. It does not want pollen from itself. So when a bee lands on it, as soon as it feels the pressure from that bee, it snaps, literally snaps to knock the pollen from the bee off and to cross-pollinate itself. Diversity is what it's looking for. This thing will be around for millions of years, but this is alfalfa. And why I grow this is for tricontinol. Right here, again, it's Lover's Lane, right? Can't have Lover's Lane without strawberries. G Mama, remember what you told me about so I went out and I got me some fake strawberries for the birds. It's working. Fake strawberries for the birds. Now, G Mama put me up on this now. So, it's fake strawberries for the birds. And these are sequoias. How big those babies are. And we're propagating those. As the runners come off, we're going to take those runners off because that's what's going to help push those berries out. But look at the size of these berries. I'm letting them sunstroke. Getting those berries out in the sun, letting them get that color in. They're ready to come off today. But I didn't want to pick them until I went live with you guys. And again, look at the turgor. Now these were sprayed with fulvic acid extract a couple of days ago. And look how they just stand up. This is what they do. Now I discovered something that I didn't even know I had right here. Let me see if anybody in the chat knows what this is. Now I'm gonna come back down to the chat. Go over here to the side. I want y'all to get a snapshot of this now, because I'm gonna propagate these. I want more of these. I want anybody to know what this is. This is a ripe something. I want you to tell me what it is. It's growing in with my strawberries, and it's gonna make sense to you once you know what it's doing over here with my strawberries. Here's some of my citrus. These are ponderosas here. And look at here after they've been sprayed with that fulvic acid extract. Look at all this new growth. They were in the garage for the winter. They were looking rough for the winter, but look at that new growth. That's what that fulvic acid extract does. It goes straight to the plant, pushes out that new growth. And she ain't just fronting either. She got fruit on her. This is a ponderosa. This is a ponderosa. These will get the size of melons. Yep, all that new growth, ponderosa. This is a Eureka lemon. She'll put off lemon all year long. You see she's flowering everywhere. Same thing, new growth everywhere. New growth. Back to our strawberries. Look at this baby here. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Look at that shine on there. That's how you know they're ready. When they have that sheen on it, shoulders, no white on the shoulders. You can do that when the birds aren't bothering them. So this is what I do with my strawberries. As they start getting a little color in them, I go down and I'll sit them up on the side of the rail and I'll let that sun get to them. And that's what makes those sugars come in. When that sun hits them, that's what makes the sugars come in. So if you're hiding your strawberries, they're not going to get sweet. You have to put them out, let that sun get to them. And that's what gives them that nice, deep, rich sugar look. See how that shines? That's telling you that the bricks in there are building up all the way down. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I wasn't able to do that. Thank you, G Mama, for putting me up on it. It works. Look how beautiful that is. And I'm getting a bowl of strawberries off of this plant every day. At least a bowl every single day. I need to start propagating these runners here. This is another, what is this? Another ponderosa. She's got flowers on her, so she's about to give us some also. And she's got fruit on her as well. Ponderosa. Ponderosa full of lemon. It's a huge lemon. And this the mama of the mama. She's about 13 feet tall now. That's a Pansaris trifoliate. All the lemon that you're seeing right there are grown on Pansaris trifoliate. That's the root stock. So what I do is I can go in and graft any of my citrus trees onto this, let it take on to the graft while it's on the tree, and then I'll do an air layer and remove it off. Then I got rootstock and scion all growing in one tree. What we call this is a whole different form of how I air layer. And I'll take the apical dominance. I'll go and air layer on that top branch right there. That's the most dominant plant in here. That's where most of the auxins are pushing to. You air layer on that and it'll take within a couple of weeks, and then you can go down and create you an air layer around it, and then you got a whole new plant. That's what this is right here. This is a brown select satsuma. She made it through the winter. She's just now coming back. She had a rough time now, but she made it. She made it through the winter. This is an olive plant here. She's still trying to push out. She's got a little green in her. Down there. So she's still alive. She's just taking her time waking up. Now all of these right here, these were put in last year. All of these from growingoutthebox.com. These are plum trees. This is a green gauge. This was put in last year. Look at that beautiful green foliage. Got green here. That's that fulvic acid extract. That's what I spray on it. Fulvic acid extract. This is a green gauge. This was put in last year. You guys were with me when I planted these. Now, this is the Shiro. Look at her. She is showing out. Now the green gauge is a little shorter because she gets a little shade towards the afternoon, whereas the Shiro gets more sunlight. So that's the reason why she's a little bigger. Now I got a water sucker right here that I need to take off, but I got some Russian rootstock that I'm gonna be taking this off and air layering onto it. So that's the reason why this is on there. That's one thing that goes all the way down. We'll take her off and then the plant will take off. She's not gonna fruit this year. Again, this is, remember when I put these in last year? Matter of fact, let me show you the height they were. This how tall they were last year. And it's not even been a year since they put in. This is about, I don't know, maybe about 30 inches. You see 30 inches there, 30 inches, 30 inches, and then look how big she's gotten. So that's for everybody who say growing out the box be doing too much the way I plant my plants. 33% compost, 33% uh, native soil, and 33% peat moss. That's that sweet medium that she loves. Slightly acidic, but you want to give her some of that native soil as well as, like I say, some of that compost just to get those nutrients going. And what I like to do also, I come down here and I give her an oatmeal bath. And what that does is it increases the fungal growth on here. Now you see how hot it is today, but look how dark that soil is when it gets down. That's 3 inches of mulch on there. An oatmeal bath. I give all of my fruit trees. And here it again. This one was put in last year. This is purple Italian. This is a purple Italian, as some people call them, a prune plum. This was put in last year, about 30 inches. This is what you get when you order from growingoutthebox.com and our partners, how we deliver. And it's more than doubled in size since we put it in last year. Not fruit this year, and of course with this crazy fruit this season that we've had. Now here's something that I wanted to share with you guys also. This is a pepper vine. So we got to get her in the ground. That's a pepper vine there. We're gonna let her crawl up the trellis there. Gonna have another pepper vine on this side. And then you got a marglobe coming up here. Along with some echinacea down here. Those are gonna be some pretty flowers and some more flowers right here. Got our all-in-one almond. Let's see here. Circling back around. Fig got hit, but she bounced right back. Yeah. She bounced right back, and then she's trying to put on some figs already. Yep. Look at her. She's trying to put on some figs already. Even after that third frost knocked her all the way back, she still came back with a vengeance. That's good soil, good ground. Back here, this is our black mission. She got knocked back also by that third frost, but she came back with a vengeance. That's a yellow long neck. She got knocked back also, but we're gonna get her going. But again, this is the garden in a nutshell. So give you a little taste of what we're looking at. This is our elephant garlic here. This is some of our elephant garlic. The scapes need to be cut on here because that's what's going to make those bulbs really jump. That's where you get that good garlic from. That's our elephant garlic there. We're going to be growing our butterfly pea flowers over here. And you can see them again. They come up on their own. I didn't have to plant those. They'll pop up in little areas like this here, and I just move them. Butterfly pea flowers, butterfly pea flower, butterfly pea flower. And then I'll do some wax beans up front. Fill that in, probably 10 wax bean plants on this side, 10 wax bean plants on that side. That's going to fill that bed up. Going back over here, once this comes out, we're putting our Rosa Biancas. Our Rosa Bianca eggplants are gonna take over this bed. So everything's transitioning. So we're gonna get back over here, and then we're gonna get into some little conversation. You guys want to ask me any questions? I'm open to questions. Let's see here. Let's get this set back up. Set my tripod back up so we can sit down and have a little talk. We can. Yep. All right. Here we go. Right. Trying to get everything. There we go. All right. So let me get down to the bottom of the chat here and see what's going on. I know that was a whole lot right there. Let's see here. All right, so now I'm down to the bottom of the chat. I'm sorry if I missed anything that I was going. A type of leek. Yeah, John, was it 60, 28, 60, 6228 says a type of leek, elephant garlic. You are absolutely correct. It is in the leeks family. Um, what is, Amy says hi. She comes in. Let's see here. Looking beautiful. Love the channel. Trying to come in while I'm trying to do a live. Okay. I just planted 3 blueberry bushes, but they were poorly labeled, so I don't know what type. I used your mixture. I hope they do well. Yeah, I even experienced the same thing because when I purchased those Georgia gems, they were labeled as both Georgia gems and they were dormant at the time. So as they started to break dormancy, and this is their first year of getting some berries on them, then I started to realize that both of them weren't Georgia gems. So uh, one of them is definitely, I think it's a premier. So let's see here, get down to the bottom. Let me see if I can make the chat a little larger so I can see here. Trying to see if I can make the chat larger. It's light outside. Oh well. All right, so I'm down to the bottom. Maggie asked uh, the store if you can find the order of which cultivars they purchased. Um, Maggie asked the store if they could find once. I'm gonna tell you like this here. Once that thing leaves the store and it's not labeled, chances of knowing exactly what it is that you just purchased are gonna be slim to none because all rabbit eyes look similar to all rabbit eyes. The southern high bushes, unless you have certain distinctions, like with the sharp blue. The sharp blue, I recognize it because the sharp blue is a little more stout, but so is the sunshine blue. So you're not going to know exactly what it is. You can just kind of single it down, narrow it to a certain specific few, but you're either going to know it's a northern high bush, a southern high bush. You can tell the difference between a low bush, because of course it's a low bush. The half high looks very similar to a low bush. They're more like in the 3 foot range, so you can tell the difference. But the specifics of that particular plant, unless you were to do a DNA analysis, there's really not a way to like 100% know. You're just gonna have to narrow it down. And that's, I mean, we all deal with that. You know, I like blueberries. I'm pretty familiar with the ones that I particularly grow, but there are so many different varieties of blueberries. There's no way that anybody can look at a bush and just tell you exactly what it is. My Hello Darling kind of reminds you of the sharp blue. They have the same little structure. They're bushier. The sharp blue is bushy. The sunshine blue is bushy. The Biloxi is right there close to them, but those are the super early bloomers. So they have the same compatibilities, they have the same structure. And then you go to what my Southern High Bush hybrids, which is a northern and a southern, which will be the Sweetheart and the Legacy. They look very similar. So you're going to have characteristics of the type and not so much as the actual plant. It's just too hard to even know that. Fresh and fire, what's going on? Say hey, jump going out the box in chat. Glad you could catch me in there, man. Let's see here. Cricket Peach, what's going on? Thank you for coming in. Maggie Woman, you are so smart. No, or my grandfather used to tell me, just talk about the things that you might know about, and people would think you smarter than you really are. So I kind of talk about what I grow. You know, there's so much more that I need to learn, so much more that I am learning every day. And it's really the questions that you guys ask that help me get to that place that I need to be in. Because if I don't know the answer to it, which a lot of stuff I don't know the answers to, I go and look it up, I do the information, and then if it's something that's interesting enough to me, I'll try to grow it. And when I try to grow it, I try to learn as much about that particular plant as I possibly can. I'm really into the FPJs, the fermented plant juices. I'm into growing my own fertilizers. And really, what I'm trying to do is become self-sustainable. And we can all do this. Even with the plums, last year my methylae had hundreds of plums on it. The coculio bug got into them, and I let all of those plums just get thrown away. I actually took them and tossed them out because I was trying to get rid of the coculio bug that was infested in them. When I could have took those plums and made a fermented plant juice out of them. That sugar is great for blossoming plants. That sugar that's in those plums, you can use create an FPJ with it, a fermented plant juice, and use those as fertilizers. So I'm learning every single day that I'm out here in the garden. I mean, literally learning every single day. There's not a day that goes by to where I'm not sitting down and trying to figure something else out. If a plant's having an issue, how do I fix it? Naturally without having to go buy like for example the grapes. Everybody was telling me, well, you got to have copper fungicides. No, you don't have to have a copper fungicide. You could grow stuff like let's see what out here I can have. Um, the stinging nettle. Stinging nettle has sulfur compounds in it. Stinging nettle also has the silica. So as you start learning more about the plants and then you start trying to associate it, like how can this plant fix that plant, how can I take the best qualities of this plant and put it into that plant. All of that's done with fulvic acid, and that's why I like using the fulvic acid extract. I can take any plant out here and its strongest attributes through that fulvic acid. I can take those and through a molecular feeding, it takes on some of the characteristics, which makes those plants that much stronger for what it is that they will weaken. So, I mean, it's for me, it's just fascinating, especially when you take some things and you can spray it on one plant, watch that one plant react to it, and then you know whether or not if it's safe for that particular plant. And me, I know one day I'm going to destroy my entire garden because I mean, I'll take a spray and I'll go over the entire garden with certain things, and then I'll be saying to myself, "What if that don't work?" I'll be messed up. But it's I do it. Some people say doing it for the gram. I do it for the gram. I do it for you guys because when I share this information with you, I can definitively say what works for me and what doesn't work for me. I'm not going by what someone told me. I'm not going by what I read in the book or the research that I've done. For the plants that I'm growing in my garden, I can tell you what those plants do. I'm not learned on all plants. You know, I'd be lying to you if I said that. But the plants that I grow, I try to learn as much about those particular plants and how they can assist other plants. And thus far, it's really been working out. So let me get down here to the chat. You would think when someone calls you and then you keep clicking off the phone that they would stop calling. That's my wife. She is not going to stop calling until I answer the phone. So we go to official Jamila. What's going on? Good afternoon to you. Fresh and fire. That's how I learned. Yeah, fresh and fire. You just try things. You know, not being afraid to try different things. And yes, I have messed up some plants. That part of it, you know, I can share with you, but just doing as much research as you possibly can and then testing it on certain plants to see what it does to that particular plant. And I have a whole lot of plants in pots that I'll try to, you know, try different concoctions on before I try it on one of the plants like my plum trees that I, you know, it's a long, same thing with my citrus, long-term investment, my blueberry bushes, long-term investment. So when I hear people say stuff like, you know, you spent a lot of money building up your blueberry beds. Well, if you've been following the channel long enough, you would know that each one of those blueberry bushes that I had last year, the 8 that are in those 48-inch those 40 inches corrugated planters, I got anywhere from 12 to 20 pounds per bush. And if you think about organic blueberries, $6 to $8 per pound, and that was last year, $6 to $8 a pound. In 2 years, my blueberry bushes have paid for themselves. I still have blueberries in the freezer from last year. That's how many blueberries that we got off last year. And again, with my smaller plants that you just saw, they're going to produce just as much. So the garden takes care of itself. It's an investment. That's the way I look at everything that I've done out here over the past 4 years. And that's how old this garden is. It's 6,400 square feet in this little area right here. I still got a half an acre on one side and a quarter acre on the other side. I'm right in the where my property line is kind of slopes down. So I wanted to be kind of center way so the water kind of beads off and doesn't settle right here in this area. So I'm in a perfect spot to grow. And like I said, 4 years. It's it's done a lot in 4 years. And what I'm doing now is I'm kind of putting pieces inside of it now to fill it all in. So when you be able to walk, you'll have little nooks and crannies to kind of crawl through. And everything is going to be some sort of edible thing. Everything in here I want to have, even the flowers, like you say, with the marigolds, the nasturtiums, the yarrow, uh, any type of flowers. I want them to be edible flowers. Everything in here, edible landscape. So that's what I'm trying to do. Cricket Pete says you're investing in your own future. That's smart. Absolutely. And Mike's Chaotic Gardening. What's up, man? I talked to you up earlier. I appreciate you coming in, my brother. That's G Mama and Mike's Chaotic Gardening. They got to be the number, and I'm gonna say the number uno duo of moderators on this internet thing, man. I love you guys for everything that you do. Um, let's see, it's a healthier investment, better than living through better eating. Yeah, and I tell you, um, you're absolutely correct. The better eating is going to be a better health. Um, this year, I got the flu, or at least they said it was the flu. I think it was that the other thing again. But I came out here to the garden, fixed me some echinacea, and I was drinking the echinacea every day, the stuff that they prescribed for me. I didn't take any of that. And a couple of days later, I shook it off. So it's pretty much like our body, the garden out here. You know, we use bacteria and fungi to feed the garden, and our bodies are made of the same thing. So as we feed our gut biome, it's pretty much the same thing as feeding the interior and the soils of our garden. Like I was folding back the mulch over there. When I Before I mulch, I'll put a powdered oatmeal down, and what does that do? That helps get the saprophytic fungi to colonize that mulch, and it becomes a living mulch. So even with my mulch layers, it's just not something that's over the soil. The mulch comes to life because the saprophytic fungi fuses itself with it and it becomes like a sponge. So on those days like we're having now, to where we haven't had a real rain, I think we've had rain twice this month, twice last month. So 4 days of rain in the last month or a month and a half, yet the garden is still pushing its way out. And that's because every last one of my beds are heavily mulched, 2 to 3 inches of mulch in every bed. And that becomes a living thing. It's not just wood chips on the garden soil. That becomes a living bed. And that fungi that colonizes the mulch actually helps break down those nutrients that's in the mulch, feeds them back to your plants, holds that moisture in. So all of these things play its part. Everything that I'm doing out here in the garden plays its part. So I just wanted to pop in, like I said, just show you guys the squash cage. Um, it's been a lot of work. It's been a lot of work, and not even half of what I have growing is out in the garden right now, but it's coming in really nice, and I'm really feeling good about it. Let's see. I just play on TV, Peach. Yeah, yeah. The TV, when this thing hits television, the only thing is I was trying to do it horizontal, and I don't know how it got turned back to the vertical, because when you do it horizontal, it shows better on TV. But when you do the lives and they go to the television, it actually helps share that live out a little better. So I really appreciate you guys coming in. Picking peace. Thanks so much for your experience. Again, yeah, oatmeal powder. Do the math. Oatmeal powder. I take just basic oatmeal, just some of that. What is it? Quaker oatmeal. I put them in my coffee grinder and I powder it up. And then before I lay down my mulch, I'll sprinkle that oatmeal all the way around the drip line. And then I'll water it in and cover it back up. If there's any mycelium or anything growing like that in the bed, I'll try to throw that mycelium on it, and the mycelium feeds on that oatmeal. And that causes it to colonize a lot faster. And again, once it starts to colonize, as a matter of fact, let me take you over here, and I'm gonna show you an example. Fold this thing up, and I'm gonna show you an example of what happens when the and every year I have to put down a new layer, new 3 layers of mulch, because it eats that mulch up. I mean, once that fungi gets down in it, it literally eats the mulch up. And I'm gonna take you over here and let you see how that saprophytic, and it's called saprophytic fungi. That's the one that's on the top layer, and then you have your arbuscula, which is down to the roots. Now, I want you guys to look down here because I want you to be able to see. I'm going to turn this camera around. This is what it does. You see this right here? Watch this. You see how that's stuck together? Look at the bottom of that. You see the white strands there? That's saprophytic fungi. That's what's breaking that mulch down. And it fuses it together. You see how it looks wet? It's holding that moisture in. So that's how my soil is able to withstand these summer heats. Everybody asks how I'm able to grow things. You see all that stuck together? That's saprophytic fungi. You see the white on that? That's what doing that oatmeal. When you feed it that oatmeal, it just takes off. That gives it the carbohydrates that it needs to just fuse all the way through there. That is saprophytic fungi is what that's called. And I can go all throughout this bed, and all of this stuff is like a mat. See here. You see how dry that is on top? But then when you start getting down there, look how, see how wet that is, how moist that holds together. And that's with no rain down here. Of course, I water, but all of this is part of my routine. And all of this stuff, you see how that breaks, that just breaks apart? That's the saprophytic fungi doing that. You see how that just breaks apart? That's not rot. You see all that white there? Mycelium. They're breaking all of this stuff down. And every year that I do this, I have to literally redo every bed every year because it eats all of this. It becomes a living mulch. That's what I'm trying to tell you guys. And these are the onions that I did last year. I split them. I let them go to seed. They split, turned into 3 onions. You see how this is? If you think this is why I let things go to seed, because these are things that you probably wouldn't know unless you experiment. This is an onion that's gone to seed, and look at what happened. Just like garlic, it splits. And then I'll take those and I'll replant them. So now that one onion has turned into 2 onions, and it'll actually form a bulb. Somebody told me that it wouldn't form a bulb. You see that right there? That's not a bulb. And I'm going to take you over here to another garden bed and let you see. I'm going to let you see exactly the size those bulbs will get, depending on which onions you get. Yeah. Even after those 3 freezes that we had, this is a Northland here. She's been pruned back. Look at all that airflow. This is what I tell you guys. You got to have airflow on your blueberry bushes. Septoria, anthracnose, even after all of those frosts that we had, putting those frost blankets on, she still bounced back with all the berries on there. She still bounced back. All the berries. That was three frosts in a row, and she still bounced back. But what I'm going to take you over here and show you a perfect example. You see this right here? You see that onion? It's going to seed. That's a regular bulb onion that's gone to seed. And what it'll do when it goes to seed, it'll split, just like a garlic. And then you take those, you split them, and you separate them, and the baby will make a whole new onion. Somebody told me it wouldn't do that. But the only way that growing out the box is going to not do it is he going to do it himself and see for himself. You can't just tell me anything. See all of these? I split them, and they form all onions. Oh, they won't get big? What? They won't get big. All of these. You see what it's doing? It's going to seed again. That will split, and I'll take that, take one, harvest it, put the other one back. Never have to buy onions again. Never have to buy onions. Never have to buy onions, never have to replant. Just move them. Look at that. You just spoon around it, let it fill in. Same thing here. You see those two there? Go for the other side. Okay. You see those two there? See that down there? They'll split. I'll take one in. That'll be my harvest. And the other one I'll replant. Never have to grow onions. You never have to grow onions again. These are the two again. Look at those babies there. Two big onions after it went to seed. Somebody told me it wouldn't do that. Y'all see it for yourself. Let your onions go to seed. You see that? You split it, take one in, harvest it, and then replant the other one. That's how easy this is. It gets easier and easier. I always let, same thing, Hashiko onions, never plant another onion. Never plant another. I had one onion set that's did this whole garden. So get back over here to the chat. Yeah. So that's one of the things that if you've been following the channel, let's see here. If you've been following the channel, you know the little Mike. I'm gonna let Mike finish this one off. Growing out the box, you be finish that one up for me, Mike. I want you to go ahead and finish that one up for me, Mike. Growing out the box, you be finish that up for me, Mike. Doing too much. That's right. I be doing too much. But what they used to say about the doing too much, that's those are the overachievers. So it's not that I know more than anybody else. It's just that I'm not afraid to fail. I try things, and just because somebody told me that somebody else said this can't happen, before I say it won't or it can't, that means I've done it. If not, I'm going to say, try it. What's the worst that can happen? It don't work. What's the best that can happen? You can grow onions, bulbs, and never have to plant an onion seed again. Never. That's from doing too much. So that kind of thing there, and I even had like some really educated people told me, well, yeah, they'll split, and you've created literally another form of the plant. So it's not the same plant that it is after it splits. It goes to seed, and it does some other genetic type mutation in there. But these particular onions that I have, that I grew from a set, they split, go to seed. I take one, put the other one back. Next year it splits, go to seed. I never have to plant an onion. Onion bulbs. I grow onion bulbs. I mean, go figure. Not onion sets, onion bulbs. I'm gonna take that same onion, replant it. It's gonna split. It's gonna give me two bulbs the next year. That's just D- DTM, doing too much. And I need to bring my T-shirt out because I got a T-shirt out now that says "Do in to" and then much on the bottom. So they're going to be up on the website real soon. But that's what really keeps me inspired and motivated to come out here, because just because someone hasn't done it before, or somebody maybe not familiar with how it's been done before, or maybe they've done it and it didn't work for them, that does not mean that whatever you do, in theory, if you believe in your mind, your heart, your soul, that this could possibly work, If it makes sense, try it. I'm not saying do something that just absolutely makes no sense, but if it makes sense to you, try it. My thing was, I just wanted to know what would happen. That's it. Everybody's like, why are you letting your garlic go to seed? I mean, why are you letting your onions go to seed? They're going to be no good. I don't know. I just want to see what's going to happen. Took it, split it, put it back in the ground. Then someone said, well, you know, that's not going to do anything. It's not going to make a bulb. You guys saw it for your own self. So it just things, discover new ways. That's right, Mike. You know, try things and discover new ways. That's really what growing out the box is. You know, growing out the box. The name came from thinking out the box, trying something different, doing things that you may not have done before, or something that's a little unorthodox, just trying something different, not being afraid to fail because the only failure is a quit. And if you try something and it doesn't work, guess what you know? It don't work. That's what you're gonna get out of it. So you move on to the next thing. Maybe it's something that happens in the course of whatever it is that you did that triggered something else. Like me using the milk, so to speak, on my blueberry plants. I tried the milk on my blueberry plants. It really didn't work for me. So what I did, I let the milk spoil. I separated the lactic acid bacteria, which is the liquid whey from spoiled milk, and I mixed that 50-50 with distilled water and I sprayed that on my bushes. No anthracnose, no septoria, no powdery mildew. I could spray it on squash plants. I could spray it on my tomato plants. No powdery mildew. And also because I use mulch on all of my beds. If you go back and watch this video, the replay, you're going to see every single bed that I've showed you is 100% covered in mulch. That is half your battle right there. So I don't worry about termites. I don't worry about because I use cypress, so termites really don't care for cypress. There's a was it cypernese, I think it is, in the cypress wood, which is a deterrent for certain insects. So that is why I use cypress mulch, not regular wood mulch. It's a totally different thing. Cypress mulch has a compound in it called cypernese. That cypernese is what keeps a lot of insects away from the cypress. Not to say that they won't get termites, but it's less likely or far less than if you were taking wood chips, which are more cellulose, and putting it down in your garden. Um, they take longer to break down, which is a lot different from your regular wood chips, and it covers your garden beds so that you always have something covering that garden bed. That's going to be your moisture. That's where those plants are going to be able to go down and get those nutrients from. Because if that soil is not wet, that organic fertilizers that we're putting down, it doesn't get um, solubilized to get back up to the roots of your plant. So the more that moisture stays into the soil, the better your plants can fend for themselves, the more insect resistant they become. So um, it's just one thing after another, man, just letting the garden take care of itself. Maggie Woman says, wait, but what about your wife? My wife has just walked out here and she's saying it's time to go because we have the Master Gardeners thing tonight. So we're gonna have to be down there by 6:30. So I'm gonna read some of the chats and then we're gonna get out of here. And I appreciate you guys for coming in and hanging out with me today while we just walk through and just kind of chat it up a little bit. We'll be back in town on Monday, and I'm gonna do a official garden tour, which I pretty much just did it. You know, just kind of walk you around everything that's going on. But we're gonna be planning out our squash next week. So what I'm gonna do is go back in our squash cage, and we're gonna mulch our squash cage. That's got to be done. So I'll probably be out here late tonight because we're leaving out first thing in the morning to head down to Florida. and I want that soil to be mulched before we leave out. And I'm gonna take you guys back over here for those who weren't in the chat a little earlier, and I'm gonna show you my squash cage. Isn't that pretty? I love that. Yeah. So I'm gonna go back over here. This is what I was working on today. This is my squash cage. So we are not dealing with the squash vine board this year. Got my netting up, 4x4 post up, got the fittings and Mr. Hootie Hoo up top. Yes, sir. Mr. Hootie Hoo up there keeping the birds at bay, doing the best he can. But I need to mulch this before we leave out tonight. Let's see, we got that. This is that's compost and cocoa coir. That's what my top 6 inches are. And up under that, I got some compost from unknown source down at the bottom, and I'm hoping it don't be too strong for this particular bed. But that's cocoa coir and compost. I don't use peat moss in my regular plantings. I only use peat moss in my garden beds. But that's my compost on the top with cocoa coir, and that's to hold that moisture in. And I'll go back. I'm going to sprinkle some alfalfa pellets. I'm going to grind them up because I have a mill grinder, and I'm going to show you guys my mill grinder and how I get the surface area really good for my alfalfa. I'll grind my alfalfa up and sprinkle that in all around the bed there. And then I'll go back and I'll put 2 to 3 inches of mulch on that. And that's going to be it on that. But I'll step back and let you guys kind of see. This is my little zip up window here. That's the squash cage. She will be doing nothing but squash. Got my little customized bed in there that I built to wrap around the squash cage, specifically for this particular thing here. Got the zippers right here. That's the squash cage. I'm loving this. Got to put some more rocks down. I got a couple of bags of rocks I got to go back in and fill out. I didn't want to put too many of the rocks down when I was filling the soil in because I started spilling a lot of stuff down on the soil, so I got to blow that off with my blower. And, that's pretty much it. Peanuts right there. Starting to get a little overshadow right here. Over here, Lover's Lane. Go ahead and put this thing back around here. Let's see. This is my little spot I like to do my lives at when I do my lights out live. So you use alfalfa powder as fertilizer. Do the math, ask that question, do I use alfalfa powder? I grind my alfalfa up. If you go to Tractor Supply has Staley's organic alfalfa pellets, not any alfalfa pellets. It has to be organic alfalfa pellets. The main thing about the alfalfa is yes, it's a good nitrogen source, but there's a compound in it called tricontinol. That tricontinol is a root stimulant and it makes plants jump. That's the key to all of this. I sprinkle that alfalfa in all of my beds and do the math. You know when it works for me and I can grow it. You know what this is right here? This is alfalfa. I'm growing my own alfalfa. That's what this entire bed is here. I won't harvest any from this year. I want to let it get up and just pretty much take care of itself, but you'll take the tips off and then I'll use it as green manure. They're coming up pretty good. But you see how dark and rich those greens are? This is what alfalfa plants look like. So it's like I was telling you, everything that I'm growing out here in the garden My goal is to become self-sustainable. If I can grow it, I will. And right now, I have the alfalfa that I'm growing. I have the Mexican sunflower, which is the Tactonia diversifolia. I have the peanuts, which is I can make a peanut meal. The peanut meal is a 722. And here's the thing here. I've been using the peanut meal on my blueberry bushes. The skins on the peanut meal are acidic. So it kind of mimics what the cottonseed meal does, which helps acidify the soil. So I'm using the peanut meal, grinding it up in my meal grinder, and I extract all the oils out of the peanuts before I grind it up, and then I'm using it as a peanut meal along with the skins. The red skins are acidic, so it helps keep that soil acidified. I also have comfrey, Bakken 14 comfrey. What else? Oh, Love Lies Bleeding Amaranth is another good bio accumulator of nutrients. All of these things I mix together in my compost. That's why my plants do as well as they do. That's why they come up on their own first of the year. Most of the stuff that I showed you out here came up on its own. I transplanted. They're from different beds around here that'll come up in pockets, and the garden pretty much jump starts itself. So let me get out of here. The kids and the grandbabies can pull all your knowledge on to do the math. You went to school for biology, chemistry. That's what do the math asks. No, and believe it or not, I've only been gardening for 4 years. I know some of you might think I've been doing this, but I've only been gardening for 4 years, and really the last 2 years to where I really been studying. So this whole my garden is only 4 years old, 3.5, 4 years old. It's 6,400 square feet, and every day I'm studying, not just going out here, putting a plant in the ground. I mean, I'm literally studying what plants do what, and mostly the plants that I grow. So it's not like I'm going to say I know everything about every plant because I absolutely don't. But the plants that I grow, I try to figure out what other plants I can use to grow other plants to again just decrease my inputs and going out to the garden. And right now, I still use blood and bone meal, but I have the Comfrey Barkin 14, which is a potassium beast. I mean, you don't even need potassium once you do that, and there goes your flowering, there goes your nutrient uptakes, helping the water move up and down your plants. The alfalfa, that's going to be with the tricontinol, which is the root hormone. It stimulates the plants to get them growing. If you got seedlings, it'll give those seedlings a good start off. That's why you see me out here with these plants that are 12 inches tall and I got whole fruits on them. Some people will say you shouldn't be growing your plants like that, but I do it every year. Every year that I've been doing this, and I've had good results. By the time the summer heat hits, I will have harvested everything in the garden. Being able to harvest allows the plants to breathe during that heat stress because the plants are going to drop their fruits anyway. So, in theory, when I first started doing this, my thinking was okay, if I get my plants to produce early, I can harvest them before the heat of the summer, which plays right into the natural makeup of the plant anyway, because what your plants are going to do during the heat of the summer is drop their fruits and drop their flowers. So if you harvest right before that heat comes in, that takes that stress off of your plants, and your plants are able to make it through that little window of heat for that month and a half. And then the second part of the season, guess what they want to do? They want to make babies. They want to put seeds out. So they're going to produce more fruit. That second half of the season, they're going to produce even more. That's just some things that I've discovered and just out here doing it, just trying to make it make sense. Yeah, Mike's Chaotic Garden says don't forget to use coffee grounds. Free nitrogen, small repels pests. Yeah, the smell repels pests. That's right. Uh, Vitabit, VIT, Vitabit. Did you ever think about quitting because of the plants not growing or dying? Yeah, yeah. Um, this is not easy. I mean, I would sit up here and say like it gets rough. Matter of fact, it's rough right now because I'm trying to grow plants. I'm trying to run my store. I'm trying to be places where I need to be, and at the same time, I have to grow the garden because if I'm not growing the garden, then you guys are not going to watch the content, which means that none of what I'm doing is going to make sense. So I'm having to be five places at one time, and it gets rough. I mean, it gets rough, but it's that thing for be careful what you ask for. We sat down and we said this is what we wanted to do, and we put some things in place to make it make sense. And as it starts to make sense, then you start to realize that it really is a lot of work. It's not just I come out here and I grow stuff. I gotta fill the orders. That's priority. So that's why I don't make as many videos as the average content creator, because when you guys order stuff from growingoutthebox.com, my priority is getting that stuff out the door. So rather than come out here and make a video, I'm in there trying to get stuff out late at night. So I'm bushed. Some nights I don't even go to sleep. I'm out packaging stuff to get out the door. So it's not a complaint, it's a blessing. You know what I mean? And I want to be in this place to where I am at right now. And not many people have the opportunity to be where they want to be. Right now I want to be in this place. I like the push. I like the whole trying to figure it out to make it make sense. And at the end of the day, it's not possible without you guys. So with that note there, I gotta get out of here. We're finna head down to Douglasville, and we're going to the Master Gardeners meeting tonight. We're going to be talking about blueberries, and we'll be checking back in with you guys on Monday or Tuesday. So on that note, I'm going to jet up out of here because I know my wife is about to choke me out right now. So thank y'all for coming in, man. I appreciate it. Growing out the box. Peace.